I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What's going on, y'all? Happy Monday. Happy Monday. We're so glad to be here again. Yes. So we're here at the top of the week, and we have an amazing show for you guys. So I hope you have your glass of wine, your cup of tea, whatever it is you're doing tonight.
Where's our wine?
You know what? That's a good point.
We'll work on that.
We're going to have to work on that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Super Soul Sit Down. We are the after show for Oprah's podcast, Super Soul Conversations. You guys know right now we're working on the 2020 Vision Tour, Your Life in Focus. And this week, the guest was Tracee Ellis Ross, a Golden Globe winning actress. She's the star of Blackish. She has a new film coming out called A High Note. She's an amazing woman, and we're so excited to dive into this conversation that Tracee had with Oprah. And in addition to that, we have a special guest. Hit it, Haley.
Yes, we do. So joining us today, Caleb Castillo. He's about to take over Hollywood, guys. So we've got projects like The World We Make on Netflix. He's got Tell Me a Story on CBS, and even more exciting projects that he will tell us about later. Basically, the perfect guest to join the Super Soul conversation. Please give it up for Caleb Castillo.
Woohoo!
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
I'm so excited, ladies. This is
We're
awesome.
excited to have you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I feel so special.
Yeah, you are special. So special, I almost forgot to tell you guys, I'm Jamie Alexander, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Haley
What's
J.
up, guys? I know we have so much
We're
to get
excited.
to. We're
There's
always
so
like, let's
much.
do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where to start?
Yeah, where to be. Okay, so actually I'll start with you because, Caleb, you listen to the podcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Tell me what you thought about the podcast overall.
Oh my gosh. Overall, I'll try and keep that short. and
Right.
sweet. Overall, I thought that you had two amazing, just incredible powerhouse women that have accomplished so much in their lives. And I thought that overall, they just gave so much of themselves very genuinely. Like, a lot of times I think you get people in their positions who offer, they kind of shortchange it when they're giving, I guess, kind of life advice, or, you know, when they're sitting down with people and those people are wondering, like, man, how did you accomplish all of that? Like, I really felt like Tracee and Oprah really gave it to the people, like, real deal. It was really authentic. I thought overall it was very authentic.
Absolutely. What did you think, Haley? That's a very good assessment.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree with Caleb exactly. I think that it's a common theme that we see with Oprah's guests. She strategically chooses people that are going to be very open with the audience, which I love because, yeah, you do see people on platforms and you assume that they've got it all together. So it's really nice when they pull back the layers and you realize, oh, it does take hard work. Oh, even when you're at the top, you still struggle. So I was always a fan of her, but after listening to her really get deep and personal, I absolutely love her. I was excited to have her on the show.
Yeah, she's really open and fun, and I have to agree, like, with what both of you said. Sometimes we get people who are so famous and they're doing well, and they're like, you know, just work hard and go for your dreams, and you're like,
Don't give up, kid.
yeah, you're like, well, what do I do when
Kind
I
of cereal box answer is that?
You know? So you're right. The way that they dive in, I just personally connected to so much, you know, that she had to say, especially about her journey and being a single woman and having to overcome certain things. And when it comes to mindset, that's what I really appreciated. So one thing that I loved, this is one of her quotes, and we made a little quote card out of it, but she said, "My life is mine." And that's such a powerful thing to say because whose else would it be?
Right.
But let's dive into how sometimes we get confused with information that we're getting from the outside and integrate it so much into our world that we're not being authentic to ourselves. Have you ever had those moments where you've had to say, my life is mine and I want to do this?
Oh my gosh, yes. I think the reason that I'm sitting here in front of you guys is because of that. Like, I grew up in a athletically dominated home. I mean, my dad was an NFL player. Both of my brothers played in the NFL. Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah, right. Being the youngest of my brothers and one of 6 children, you know, everyone, you know, to try to form your own life in a setting like that, where not only the people in your family are looking and wondering what you're going to do and how your life is going to pan out, as opposed to, your brothers and your dad. But then you have this other whole world outside of you. And growing up in the South, where football is religion, there was a ton of pressure on me, whether it was my own perception of that pressure or actual people. Like, I remember growing up, like, being called, Little Simeon and Little Tim, and those were my brothers. And, that's stuff that when you're little, you like, you like it, and that's something you admire, that you want to be like your older brothers. Then as I got older, those are words that are spoken over you, and words are powerful. So you're trying to figure out, like, wait, who am I? Like, I'm not Little Him or Little Him. I'm Caleb.
Correct.
So I was playing football at the University of Alabama. Played 3 seasons there. After my junior year, we won a national championship, and I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I want to take control of the life that God has given me, and I'm gonna sit with this and with him and figure this out. And it was beautiful what you said earlier. You were telling a story before we started. You're like, I just took a year. I quit football cold turkey after my junior year. It was like, I want to figure this out, figure out my path in my life, because I've been told I should do this thing my entire life. And not only did I choose to quit playing this very masculine, very barbaric, violent sport, and I decided to do something completely opposite of that, to go into arts, so.
How did your family take that when you told them?
So it was my greatest asset is my family,
Man, I love that.
I just love, like, Super Soul Sit Down. Like, we have so many of these conversations in our house. So it wasn't, my family was fully supportive. I remember I lived with my 2 sisters in college, and my oldest sister was so supportive and encouraging, because she would see me come home every day from, the facility, and she'd be like, yo, something's just off with you. Like, and then the conversation started breaking, because guys, we don't know how to talk about that stuff. We don't, like, it was a whole year of my sister really being like, yo, you don't look happy. Then months later, well, it's this. Well, and I never for 1 minute was like, this football, this thing that's been a pillar in my life, this is what's making me unhappy. I'm not in my purpose. And I was fully believing that I was. And so when it came to the time for me to make the decision, like, my family was fully behind it. My dad, who had built such a great career in the sport and was very heavily involved at my university on our team. He's like our spiritual guidance counselor, basically, on our team. And he was like, dude, I can't get in the way of what God's telling you and your dreams. And
I love
that. That is so awesome.
Well, and it's just like family first amongst pride, or a title of any championship. It's like your happiness needs to come first.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It was funny though. The first when I was like, Dad, I don't think I want to play football no more. He was like, what you mean? Like, when the conversation kind of first came up, because you have your youngest son who's like, it was just very much like, okay, well, what do you want to do? It wasn't him being like, you got to play football. It was like him being like, this is something that builds discipline in your life. And I want to know, as your father, like, what do you have in mind about your future? Like, you know what I mean? But yeah.
So now being in LA and being introduced to this whole world of Hollywood, do you feel pressures of trying to fit into the mold of the Hollywood actor, or what's that like now?
No, because I don't know what that is.
Good.
I don't, I think the beautiful thing about what I've been given the gift and the talent to pursue in telling stories is that people look like everything. And there's so many different shapes and walks of life. So it's like, what does a Hollywood actor look like? My agent says something funny, Nate Sedman. He's like, dude, he's like, this is such a hard business because the finish, the starting line is the hardest part. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He was like, you start off in the trenches of like, how do I do this thing? Because there's no real way or journey, or everybody has their own journey in this. So, no, I think that the actors that you do see that have been the most successful are the ones who have been very true to themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like that's been kind of like the common thread between a lot of these podcasts that we're listening to. Because, like you said, we're always like, be authentic, be yourself. But just the layers and levels to that. There was something that Tracee Ellis was saying, you know, when you put your habit on the right stuff, and we did this as a quotable too, but when you put your habit on the right stuff, you're teaching and not on teaching yourself to be smaller than you are. And she talked about meeting yourself where you are, and that's the fastest way to get to where you're going. And that just rang true to me. That was so poignant. Yeah.
That was exactly what happened with my work situation. I was resenting and I was mad and I just wanted it to change. And then I said, I have to accept where I am, be thankful, more importantly above anything, appreciate how much worse it could be happy with what I have, and then suddenly, just like that, things change. So that it reigns so true, just to really, I think it's like those quiet moments are so important to have. Just like even in the car, if you get to focus for a second, like I'll make myself do like a 10-minute meditation in the morning, and I've fully become that LA like hippie girl.
That's
but
good.
I feel
that's
so much
beautiful.
better just to like, because we live in a world of so many distractions. Everyone wants our attention. Everyone has a text, a group message, and it's that double-edged sword where you want to be in the know, you want to, you know, be
Put it on
involved, but you
nighttime
need to
mode.
breathe. Sometimes you're just like, feeling like just people are pulling at you at all directions. Like, I don't even have kids, and I feel that way. Like,
Yeah.
there's just so much.
No, that's so
Seriously.
right
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
love
I was thinking about that. And I love another thing that she brought up, because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've felt an immense pressure to like be successful at one point in my life. And, you know, we listen to affirmations and things that we should do, but I like changing the affirmational word from I am this and I am that to may I.
Yeah.
Because it is so much more of a gentle invitation. Because for somebody who's already like hard on themselves and overthinking and trying to it's like I am, but what do I do when I don't feel like I am? And is it okay to meet myself? Like, may I give myself permission, you know, to do these things? What do you guys think about
being
that?
friendly to yourself is I always tell myself, like, you should treat yourself like you would your best friend. When when your best friend comes to you with a problem, you're hopefully not, you know, do better. You're just like, it's okay. Like, I know you're capable. How do we work together to overcome this? And it's like, why don't we talk to ourselves that way?
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with that. My life did it. I feel like in the past 2 years, my life took a turn for the better when I started to do that very thing of like putting yourself first, because as my career has grown, like I've been pulled in a million different directions. And you have to choose very wisely, like for yourself, like what am I going to, like what are my principles, and then how do I stick to those, and how do those dictate what I'm going to give my time to? Like, I don't think about this.
That's so
when
good.
I think about spending, the way that I think about spending time outweighs the way that I think about spending money by 100-fold.
Well, look at that, and you're spending
I
time
love
with
that.
us today.
Yeah,
That just took things up a notch, and feeling wealthy.
This is rich to me. Like,
because
this
these
is,
are the experiences, the money. Because I think that's one thing we've learned too, especially in LA more than ever. It's that you can have the money, you can have the success and the flashy things, but those don't fulfill you. Those are just temporary bits of happiness. And that's why we see so many people struggling, because they don't know how to fulfill themselves. And by choosing, I think, time equals experiences equaling things that will truly fulfill you as a person.
I think one of the beautiful things, like, in staying on subject with this, like today with Kobe's memorial, right?
Oh man,
talk
that
about
was
that.
good. Did you watch it?
Oh yeah.
My God.
There was not what was so beautiful about the life Kobe lived, and you could see it was evident by everyone who spoke about him. No one said anything about his basketball accomplishments.
No.
Not
I
one
get to
person.
think about it.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
it was
I-
just
But
very.
But it goes to what you were saying, and the reason that he was where he was and how that happened was because he was dedicated to his baby girl. And I was like, dude, everyone has to go one day, but man, how beautiful of a moment of like, bro, if I'm gonna get up out of here, like that's how I'm going with my
But
baby.
it was the thing.
You know?
Yeah, sorry to cut you. It just came to
go
my mind
ahead.
like it wasn't only that he was dedicated to her. Like I was looking at his life as a whole, And he was
Yeah,
just
that's so good.
dedicated.
Yeah.
And I thought about it because, you know, I know Tracee Ellis talked about being single, but me even being a single woman, I was looking at the relationship he had even with his wife.
Yeah.
And how sometimes it can be challenging to find a man who loves so deep. Like, you going to go under the moonlight and learn a song on the piano because you miss me? Like,
Yeah. And
that
not just
took
a
my
song.
breath. Like,
You know, it wasn't chopsticks.
Correct. So, but it's like he did that with basketball. He
Yeah.
did that with his kids. It's who he was.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, oh, I love her so much and I love my kids. It was like he came here to squeeze it all out.
Yeah.
And you said you wake up at 4:45 in the morning, which is I'm trying to get there because I know I can squeeze more out of myself in the day.
Right.
But being an athlete, how do you see the parallels in the disciplines that you've set for yourself to accomplish, you know, in your everyday life? Kind of like.
I mean, I think, well, athletics was such a gift in the fact that, like, in order to be successful, there are just certain things you just have to do. And specifically, like, you know, learning those things from my dad and the life that he lived and he lives today. And my dad, as long as I've been alive for 28 years, has been up at 3:30 every
Oh
morning.
my God.
Like, what time do y'all go to
And-
bed?
yeah.
I'd be
And-
tired.
I thought
And
6
listen-
a.m. was early.
Golly.
Yeah. And it's like, but you think about this though. I had to put it into perspective because I'm like, what? But you take a man like Kobe Bryant, a man like my father. Not only did they accomplish so much in their own life before, like, okay, you know, well, I would say a majority of my dad's life and Kobe's life, he's had a wife and kids. But what I'm saying is, like, in order for my dad to manage a household, a marriage, a professional career, and his spirit, I'm like, you gotta squeeze every day out of every moment out of every day. And the first thing my dad does in the morning is he and my mom hit their knees and pray for every single one of their kids. They spend the first hour or 2 hours of their day aligning themselves spiritually.
It's so funny how
love
it's like
that.
I feel like I learn something and then I find myself in situations where I'm around the same type. I'm around the people that are saying what I just heard. So when you talk about alignment, it's like I can't help but feel like I'm like creating these situations because I just went to church on Sunday and you're literally saying what he said.
Oh, wow.
And I've been working on finding my alignment and I just feel like I'm getting so much closer and I feel so happy to say the people that I find myself surrounded by are people that are thinking the exact same way I am now. And I think what your dad really instilled in you was structure. And I feel like that's like he built that foundation in himself. So now when all the other factors of life do come into play, he knows how to handle them. Yep. And that's exactly, I think, what kind of football helped for you too, because it was just that building block of knowing so much more amazing things were going to come into your life. And now you're equipped to handle them because you know how.
Yeah. I think, you know, and I'll keep this quick. Like, I just came to this revelation, like, you know, this over this past job that I've been working in, like, we all pray for that big thing. It's like, oh my God, I want to be a movie star, or I want to be the series regular on TV, and that is the position that I'm stepping in, and it's like the workload is so much more immense than what I was prepared for, right?
Wow.
So it's like, how do you align yourself with, you know, or prepare yourself for something that you've never experienced? And so it, like you said, if you are practicing what you feel like is your alignment and what you feel like fuels your soul and your body and your mind, that when you do face a wall, like, you know, like, oh my God, my schedule's insane now, blah, 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 then okay, I'm aligned. I know exactly, you know, what I need. I was praying for this. I know that God will see me through this. It just kind of like you have the foundation and the structure.
It's
and
like an anchor.
Yeah, it's just an anchor. And so you don't really run into anything in life that you can't defeat. You know what I mean? And even if you do get defeated, you know how to hey, all right, we're going to scratch that, go right back and start again, try again, you know?
Yeah, and regardless of, I think it's pretty obvious now that we're all believers of God, but I love when they say that, like, God has seen the bigger plan, so it's like, why am I stressing if he knows exactly how this ends and he wouldn't set me up for failure? So you just gotta, trust has been, like, the biggest thing I've been working on, and I feel like I'm allowing it, and I do feel better. Like, anxiety-wise, we talked about this, I feel like 6 months ago, I would just get like
game changer, by the way.
Yeah, like I just feel different. Like I feel
That's
calmer.
Awesome.
I can tell too. I've seen your growth. I mean, I've watched you grow. We've been doing this, I feel like, for about 6 months, right? So.
Well, it's just crazy how communication fixes so many things, and it's just like I really hope the world as a whole continues to go in this direction, because you just see so many people struggling, and it's like, damn, if someone was just there to talk to them and see them and hear them. And that's what I love about Oprah's podcast, because she's opening that conversation that maybe people aren't ready yet to have face-to-face, but they can at least listen and get something out of that. And that's what we obviously hope these conversations can reflect to the viewers, and just know that they're not alone in whatever they're dealing with.
Yeah, it's always language and tools that we need to change our lives. That's what you're getting. That's what you're getting when you go to a therapist, or
100%.
when you join a group therapy session. It's language and tools. And you spoke about your schedule being so crazy, and I found alignment with what Tracee Ellis Ross was saying, because I move slow. I cannot be rushing. It just gives me anxiety.
I love that.
Do you think
We're forced to believe that success means go, 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 but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think about it when I'm in the kitchen. If I'm rushing around, if I'm chopping stuff, I'm going to cut my finger.
Yeah.
It's like the same way in life. If you don't like let yourself think, why am I even making the decisions I'm making? You're not going to be in alignment, right? Like, you need to slow down.
Yeah, because I really like the way she was saying, and something as simple, and I want to know if you do this, but it's about staying present. And she's like, when I have to go pee, I go pee. And I likened to a child, because a child's not going to be like, I'm in my playpen right now.
Right.
I'm not going to,
No,
Do you find yourself able to function that way in your busy schedule?
I'm going to tell you this
Do you go
right
pee
now.
when you need to?
I just, when she said that, I was like listening through the whole thing, and I'm like, Tracee is so accomplished, and she's in so many areas, and I'm just like, I'm like, I was trying to find a win. I'm like, when you listen to somebody successful speak, you're like, you're just waiting for them to say something that they do that you do.
Yeah.
And I just got to this point this past year. I was like, I go pee when I gotta go pee. And it's like, but it's come, when I heard her break it down, I was like, that comes from just being in tune with yourself and being intentional and being present and saying, like, you know what does not matter about it except for this bathroom break.
Yeah,
I'll be on set.
That's now.
The
bathroom break is now.
The bathroom break is now. And I loved that
So
she said
small
that.
and simple,
So
but
simple.
the idea is
It's the
putting your
smallest
needs.
discipline.
Yeah.
It is the smallest discipline. Like, how, if we're talking about mental health and all these things, how crazy of a person do you have to be to like, I'm going to the bathroom?
Well,
Yeah,
you
I'm not
hear
going
about
right
people
now.
that will legit schedule out their bathroom breaks. Nothing sounds more stressful to me than someone that is like, from 10 to 10:03, I'm going to I'm like,
Now, I knew in school when I had to
Can
raise
you-
my hand and ask to go to the bathroom, and then you say no, I knew something was wrong there. I was like, oh, this can't be it. This cannot be the place.
yeah.
I
That's actually a weird concept that you have to ask
pretty
permission
weird.
to use the bathroom.
It is. But schools are like prisons anyway. They got to keep, hey, where you going? Where you going?
Right, get in line.
Get in line.
I did want to ask the idea. This was like, how do you refill or renew? She talks about that. So what do you guys do because it's amazing when we feel in alignment, but what about the times you don't? Like, what do you do to get yourself back to that place?
Good question.
I sleep.
Oh, I love sleep. My bed is my favorite place.
I get excited.
You get excited? Oh, to go to bed.
I'm like, this is all.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to go to sleep. I get
I
excited.
go to
bed.
sleep. I
I
love
think
that.
that's a good idea. It's a
It is.
reset.
It is. And I will, like, if I'm feeling, I just need to remove the cloud, that pressure. I just sleep. I turn that phone off, and I'm going to sleep until I literally, like, my back hurts in the bed. You know what I mean? Like, bed sores,
Yeah.
I literally just sleep, and that's just getting rest, and it's just allowing.
Self-care.
Yeah, I literally, when I say, like, I don't set an alarm, I just listen to my body, and it's like my body, I know, when it's time to get up. It knows. And
Even when you have a work schedule? You don't set
See,
up work?
so what's funny is like, so in my work schedule, what aligns me, I guess those are two different things. So for me, on an off day, like, okay, for instance, we shoot Monday through Friday, like, man, I'm not moving on Saturday until my body tells me to move.
Correct.
Because
that's how my Sundays go.
yeah, because I've been sacrificing my sleep all week for
That
5 days in a row. So I can't come back to work and function Monday if I don't reset, let my body recharge the way it needs to recharge. But as far as like during the week goes, power naps in my trailer.
You gotta do what you gotta do. I know for me, sometimes I have to check in and just make sure I'm not hungry or tired.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm being dramatic over something and it's like, oh, babe, just go get something to eat.
That's it, yeah.
That's the one thing I
You'll be
don't
fine.
ever
That's so
forget. When
funny.
some people are like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I forgot to eat today. I'm like,
I got snacks on deck. What do you mean?
can't relate.
Yeah, I got a
truly.
snack on
I'm
me
like,
right
I don't
now.
think I've
Can I
ever
have some?
forgotten
Right.
to eat.
No, I love it. And before we kind of wrap up this part of the conversation, something else that was really powerful that Tracee was talking about that I picked up is where I am and where I want to be and how scary that part in between is.
I love that.
So let's just talk about it. So you're on TV, you're in film, and I'm sure you have aspirations about where you want to go in that.
Sure.
What part of you gets nervous from today and to where you see yourself being? How do you deal with that in the middle?
I love this. I was so happy when she brought this up because it's something that I feel like over the past year that I've really been working on, and I have two thoughts about it. One is what Haley talked about, trust. You kind of just trust. Like at the end of the year last year, God was just putting me in so many situations, little tiny situations where if you're just cognizant and you're attentive throughout your day, God will show you the smallest thing, even
So
the
good.
smallest thing. I got you. Like every day. And once you tap into a revelation or a truth, you're constantly aware of that thing, and it's like a power. You know, it just like, I don't even have to think about that because I know it falls under this category. It's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Now I have this thing in my mind that for some reason, whenever I get like a sign or something that just connects with me, where just like you were saying, it's like you feel like that's a little like form of alignment or that God's
Yeah.
got you, my head goes, you were meant to see this automatically.
Oh, you
And
have
so
that.
I'm like, that's how I know. It goes, you were
Yeah.
meant to see this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, where did that come from?
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
for me, one thing when we talk about trust, one big thing, I got the message in January 2017, but it's coming up again now. And I was having trust issues like with God. I'm like, how am I supposed to trust, But it all came down to trusting myself. And
Wow.
I realized when I'm not being present is when I am reliant on that part of me that's not God. I feel like God is in the presence. So yes, when you're
Yeah.
open to see the littlest, it'd be the littlest things
Yeah.
that if you are in you and
Yeah.
not trust, you don't see it because it's not available to that level, that frequency of being. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I'm learning to trust myself more, and in that I find the marriage of trusting God one and the same, and it all comes down to being present.
And then
Absolutely.
alignment.
I love that. And like one thing I always think about is like I'll put my hands up just like this and like this is where I am and this is where I want to be. And I think about that space in between like this and I'm like I don't think that like this will never change. Like this is our destiny. This is your most grand idea of yourself plus what God has in this, right? Which you could never even conjure up or imagine or
Right.
understand or dream or whatever. So that is going to be that because he created us and he's a good father. You don't even have to worry about that. It's solid. And then, but what scares us is this thing in between.
The
It
unknown.
makes my
the
The
stomach
fear of
hurt
the
thinking
unknown.
about it.
Right?
Like,
And what I always say is a simple thing is like, when you get discouraged by circumstances, I always say, this doesn't affect this. And I just do that.
and you
I'm
can
just
let
like,
it go.
I can
And
let
I
it go.
try and just put into perspective, which I've also learned perspective is everything. But if
Yeah.
something doesn't go according to my plan, I just try and tell myself, and sometimes it's easier than others, but I try and tell myself either this is protection in some form, whether I can see it now, like this didn't happen because it's protecting me of something better to come, or I just have to trust that, maybe my plan isn't the plan, you know? It's not my plan. It's his plan, and I just got to trust it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, surrendering to that is where it's at. I mean, y'all, we could keep going.
Yeah,
we could go deep
time
in that.
crunch. Yes,
I can preach here.
Correct. And this is so good. We
I
wish
love
we
the
had
energy
more
that I really
time.
do.
Yeah, I love it too. But we're just gonna quickly dive into some news and gossip and kind of get a little share on with you guys.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So, Caleb, we're of course excited to have you here. I want to give you the floor to talk about some of your upcoming projects, where everyone can find you and follow you and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, it's been an incredible past year. So at the top of the year, I had Wu-Tang, an American Saga on Hulu, and I'm a member of the Wu-Tang
Oh
clan.
my
in that
God! Wait a
show.
second. Who do you play?
Capadonna.
I'm so obsessed with that show. How did I
Yeah.
not recognize?
So
I'm
what?
slow.
No. It's great. I love that question because I played the way that you're introduced to Cap is like my name's Chino and I'm in jail, but you know what I'm saying, selling dope, right? So
Is it all
crazy.
clicking?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm like itchy. I cannot wait for the show to come back.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed.
And we
I
got
love
renewed for
hip-hop.
season
Like,
2.
I was so
Yeah.
pumped. Oh my God! Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I need your autograph when we're done. That's it.
No, yeah, I have that coming up, and I had The World We Make on Netflix, which was a beautiful film and opportunity that I got to have. That was something that was small that turned out to be such a gift. And then I just signed on as onto NCIS LA, so I will. There's not a ton I can say about that one because it's still kind of week to week on that show of network TV and how they're writing and stuff, but you'll be seeing a lot of me on that. So
Looking forward to
Fantastic.
it. So exciting.
but I mean, you can follow me on Instagram at Caleb Castillo, and on Twitter. I'm more active on Instagram though. But yeah, so it's this journey out here in LA has been amazing, and to be able to have opportunities like this, I tell people all the time, I'm like, yeah, the acting stuff's cool, but like if that allows me to get somewhere to spill my soul to people who may be able to say, oh, that thing that he said, I captured it and it helped me, carry my water. Like,
That's
cool.
why I feel like you're successful, because that mindset is deserving of the success. Like you are appreciating it along the way for the bigger purpose of it all.
Well, this is beautiful. You guys have a great thing, and I think that this is so valuable in this space, and it's so valuable to have a resource that you can come to and know that your soul is safe there. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
it's such a relief.
Yes.
Even when I turned on the podcast and I just heard Oprah's voice.
You feel better, right?
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like,
Your 2020
oh,
vision.
yeah,
You're like,
Am I in a
girl.
sauna?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. What spa is this?
I smell lavender right now.
Yeah. So,
Well, the show's not over yet and we're gonna let you think on this because we have our our special segment Own Your Soul coming up where we think about something that's gonna evolve us throughout the week, something that we might have just learned. But before that, we still have our Super Soul poll. So Haley, dive in.
So as you guys know, we do every Sunday a poll. We did talk about it. We didn't cover it too much just now, but in that podcast, they talk about the idea of something being better than it actually is. I know I've definitely built up situations where I fell in love with the idea of it, and then I got it and was like, oh, okay.
Yep.
So I took to Instagram and asked how many people found themselves in the same situation, and 91% say they have like the idea of something more than the actual thing, with 9% saying no. So can anyone here relate?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a daydreamer, so I'd be overdoing everything, and then I'm like, oh, that's, or I've had that
The
before.
worst
I did
is when
it, or
you
it's not
think
that
like the
serious.
brownie will be better than it is, and you're like, I regret. Wasn't that good?
No, that's
Yeah,
so
I'm
funny.
too much. So I related to this. I was like, yep, I need to calm down on the inside just a little bit and let it unfold.
I would be in the 91% too, but I am such a faith person of like, I just believe, I'm like, this is going to be the best.
But I
This
love that
thing,
about you, though. I
you
hope
know?
you stay that way.
Yeah, this is
Even
gonna be the best
through it all,
thing ever, and it just, and sometimes it is like, wow, it was that, and sometimes it goes above that, and then sometimes it's just not that.
Sometimes
you know?
I can do without that. That
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
that.
Well, and it is being able to find the good in any
Of course.
situation. It's
Absolutely.
Like, what is this? There's got to be one thing I'm gaining from this, even if it doesn't always feel like it.
That was one of the beautiful things she did say. I think that's like one of the things I wrote down. She literally said, learn to dismantle the expectations of yourself.
Her verbiage, by the way, just got my whole life together. She
Yeah.
speaks so eloquently, my whole life
Articulate. She's so
together.
articulate,
She is
yeah.
so articulate. But that dismantling is so important. And I like the choice of words because when you say dismantle, I do think piece by piece. I don't
Yeah.
think get rid of all this because sometimes it's hard to get rid of a
That's
habit.
when
But if I
people
can
wanna quit,
dismantle,
right?
Yeah.
When it seems too
It's
much at
doable.
once. Yeah. Baby
Yep.
steps.
No, that's that. I think that when you are realistic about the expectations of yourself, aside from like the miraculous things that God can do in your life, when you literally say like, when you dismantle that, I think your dependency is upon Him even more. Does that make sense? Like when you just say like, yeah, I ain't got this.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's what I do a lot during my day is I just like, yeah, I don't.
And that's also a
Yeah.
form of meeting yourself exactly where you are, like she says.
Yeah.
And knowing that also
Being okay
changes
with
your
it.
it also changes your prayer life. You're not asking for
Oh
all
my
these things that
gosh.
are out of alignment. You're more asking for the wisdom, the insight, the discernment, the things that are actually going to get you further along down the path. So, I love that part of things. So, I mean, this is the perfect time to kind of segue into our special segment, Own Your Soul.
Your journey to become more inspired and connected to the deeper world around us starts right now.
Yes, guys. So this is our special segment, Own Your Soul, where we take something we've learned or heard during the week, and we're going to use it, as we go forward to continue to evolve, grow, and own our souls. So who wants to go first? Who learned something from this amazing podcast
give it
or
to Caleb.
conversation that you're going to take with you to do better this week?
I think the most beautiful thing happened within the first about 3 minutes of the podcast, and they both acknowledged that they know and believe that God loves them. And I think that one of the hardest things for people to do in our world is just to receive love. And I stepped into this huge role on this huge show that has been on for 11 years, and it's hard to believe sometimes that people really love you, really are rooting for you, really want you to be a part of something. And it was something like odd for me because I've just been saturated with love my whole life. So I know when it's genuine and I know when it's real. But over the past couple of weeks, getting to know new people and people who have that very genuine feel of love about them, but just trusting that it is real and trusting that, this person really does love me. This person really does care for me. And, clocking their actions and clocking your actions back to them. Am I loving this person? So I think going throughout this work week I'm going to just ask God that I would be just more open to the people's love around me, and then in return, loving them, like I love myself. So
That's amazing. I mean, I think sometimes we forget that being the recipient is also a gift. It's not just like, I'm getting all the love, take. It's like, no, you just gave somebody an opportunity to love you.
Yeah.
And that's just as valuable as giving, and it's reciprocal.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I
that
know
was great.
we're getting the warning here. We're short on time, so I'll make it quick. But I catch myself sometimes in moments of like not wanting to be selfless or this is mine and I gotta go. And so whenever I feel any resistance of like, no, I can share or I can donate $1 here and there, whenever I feel myself not wanting to, I push myself to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing there's no shortage in kindness. Like it always comes
No.
back even like heavier when you're just like putting others first. And I want to just do that more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think for me, it is just remembering that my life is mine. And I'm going to walk through this week in boldness with
Yeah.
that remembrance. because I find myself doing things that I don't want to do. So, sometimes you got to do the things you don't want to do in adult, and sometimes you're living in fear and you need to realize you don't have to do this. You don't have, so I would like to blossom, if you will, a little bit more in being full and claiming my life and my time.
Yes,
because I know there's so much in that. Yes,
that's gorgeous. I love that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yes. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm sure you got so much value out of that. As you know, you can leave comments below. We'd love to hear your stories, comments, and everything that you have to offer. And tune in again next week, same time, same place, Monday at 6:15 p.m. I'm your host, Jamie Alexander, and you can find me on Instagram at Jamie Alexander.
And I'm Haley J. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at HeyJ, HAYJ_. And Caleb, where can we find you?
I'm Caleb Castillo. Thank you, ladies, for having me. This was a blast. So beautiful.
Thank you.
You can find me on Instagram at Caleb Castillo.
Whoop, whoop. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.